No, that's a straw. That's not a one. That's, yeah, you can have it. You can have it. Hello, Dungeon friends. I'm the Lich, and this is the Liching Hour. And before you do whatever it is you do when you get here, in Dungeon News, there's been another outbreak of Crip Rash going around, folks. You can get your booster shots at either level 5, or if you're really brave, you can go to HR. Get the booster. It gives you a +5 to your Fortitude saving throw. Side effects are completely minimal. There is a 1% chance your metabolism might react in a way that creates a tiny rip in the fabric of reality inside your body, and the host of demons will pour out. But that's a small price to pay for not walking around with dungeon crud on your face. In other news, we've really let our Instagram slide. Now the goblins of marketing have come up with a new slogan. More like Fungin. Right? So we're going to ask everyone to submit their favorite Fungin moment. And we'll post them. The photo that gets the most likes will win the submitter a Wanda photo filters. Very fun. That's the news today. Enjoy your stay. Viva la Dungeon.
Thank you, Lich, and hello, Dungeon fans. It's the Liching Hour, Friday night, which means we're playing Dungeon Crawl Classics. I'm Kevin from level 9, and I will be your dungeon tour guide for the evening. Last episode was the epic conclusion to the DCC original adventure, The People of the Pit. Our heroes survived. They managed to defeat the leader of a tentacle god cult, and in the process, they weren't responsible for it, but the pit caved in on itself, and all we can think is that the pit creature, the great pit being, went to sleep, or at least was killed or something, because it's silent now, and our party had to long crawl and climb up out of the pit into the noonday sun. It took time and patience, but they were super happy when when that sunlight hit their faces. Welcome to the channel. If you're watching on YouTube, come check us out live. If I happen to start talking off screen, it's probably because I'm talking to somebody on chat. I haven't decided yet whether or not to take up valuable resource screen on my. I don't know if that's valuable to you, people watching it recorded. If you want to see chat, there isn't usually a whole lot yet. One day, yes. Anyway, I digress. Let me fix one thing real quick. Boom and boom. I got something interesting tonight. I'm kind of happy with where it ended up, and looking forward to you seeing it too. So the party crawled out of the pit. Noonday sun. Very happy to be alive. Happy to got out. Jasper they had to help Armstrong get up because he had sapped a lot of his vitality in order to cast a few of the spells that he cast in the big fight. Jasper had to carry him on his back at one point, but they made it out, and the trip back to the village of Harrenhal was uneventful. The blacksmith was incredibly happy to see his daughter, and vice versa. They had managed to save the blacksmith's daughter. He gave them 2 cows in return to take with them. It was a very big reward for this village. The party didn't stay long. They wanted to get back to a little bit more civilized parts. So they, as soon as they could, they took off back to Duskfell to get their reward from the Baron. It was a couple weeks trip, maybe been a little bit longer because of the cows. Jasper was our animal trainer. He kind of took care of them. Jasper is also the one that's becoming more and more kind of almost feral, but then the the addition of this sword with its own mind, it's a chaotic sword, and its own impulses has begun to warp that in a way we hadn't expected. And that's interesting. What's happening, interesting for us, maybe not so much for Jasper. But a new thing has kind of developed. Now that Jasper's faced this gigantic being, epic being, the pit. We're not going to call it a beast because that belittles it. It was a pit. I'm going to say Titan. He's beginning to believe that if you remember, he's having dreams every night, where he's actually sharing the dreams. He inherited the dreams of this actual Titan that he killed, in the very first adventure, Hole in the Sky. He's been having these nightmares of this Titan doing these horrific things in war and battle and vulgar and terrible things. And he's been having them every night. They plague him. He doesn't feel like he gets a lot of sleep. That's been driving him into isolation. Something changed. Something with the combination of the sword and facing this big tentacled Titan. He's starting to, his first thought was a question, am I a Titan? And he's beginning to think that he is that Titan, inside at least. And that his destiny is to slay other Titans, like he does in his dreams. His dreams are battles between actual Titans versus Titans. Giants, gigantic beings versus other gigantic beings. He's beginning to believe that it's him. He's, basically Jack the Giant Slayer, but he is also a giant. That's kind of what's roping around in his head while they're traveling. Anytime anybody says anything to him, he has to kind of wake himself up to answer, because that's what he's lost in. Armstrong, I don't know if we've ever really talked about what Armstrong looks like. I think in my mind, Armstrong was a farmer before. I think he was a parsnip farmer, or he was a farmer, and now he's a wizard, right? He's got a stamina 18. So I've always imagined him to be a very naturally fit and hardy person. He had farmed for decades before, going on, finding himself out of place and wandering off and becoming an adventurer, basically, and rolling the big wheel of taking a spin at the wheel of destiny. And here's where he is now. Where he is now is his eyes are completely white. He's suffered some corruption from the magic that the power he's been using. He's got completely white eyes, and from his fingertips to his elbows, his arms are completely blue. He blew himself. And all that's done, it's unsettling for everybody else. Everybody else is a little disconcerted. They kind of avoid looking at him directly. It's going to take them a while because of the eyes, and the hands are a little weird, but the eyes are really disconcerting. But all this has just served as kindling to his passion for more power. He sees it. He's very proud of himself, and he feels like, and although he can't see his eyes, and people just told him, he thinks it's a very small price to pay for the power that he's wielding, and he knows that he's doing something right now. Tasha, on the other hand, who was once confident, because being an elf gave her this natural tendency towards magic, and this kind of, what she's found out was it's a little bit of a false confidence, because that's all she's worried now, that's all she has is her innate kind of tendency towards magic. But is that actually enough to be a spellcaster? This is what's been going on. She's shook. Her confidence has been shook. Let's not tell her, but most of that's my fault because I've been rolling so shitty for her. But we won't. She doesn't need to know all that. The details don't matter. She has lost a bit of confidence. She's going to attempt to reach out to a patron when she gets back, and she's going to prepare the ritual. And when she gets back to Dustfall, she's going to attempt to get a patron to see if that might help her. So this is quite a few of these people are lost in their own thoughts, and it's kind of a quiet trip home, particularly particularly for Naomi, our cleric. She suffered quite a bit at the bottom of the pit when it comes to her relationship with her goddess, Pelagia, the goddess of the sea. Atticus and Tarloff are increasingly over the course of the trip more and more worried about her. Atticus and Standish sing raunchy sailor songs each night by the fire, but only it's only Tarloff who pays any attention. Naomi's sunken more and more and more inward, thinking to herself. At one point in her adventure, in their time in the pit, she had to atone right then and there for an error against her goddess. Had to get on her knees and pray for almost an hour. So they're watching her, wondering if this is something that's going to happen to her. Is there anything they can do to help her? Nothing she did seemed to please her goddess at all. And she began to wonder if Pelagia wasn't the right goddess for her. But when she was climbing up out of the pit, she had a moment of clarity. The things that she had lived by her whole life, the tenets, the ones she thought were set in stone, had slowly been eroded, and she just had realized it now by the experiences she had on the road. A belief that there must be a balance between good and evil, that evil deserves an equal share of reality just as good, because she's neutral in her approach to life, focusing more on on that there needs to be a battle between the two, and that's where she lives, versus taking sides on one or the other. But the idea that evil should deserve an equal share of reality, as much as good, seemed like a child's dream to her now. When she actually stood face to face with face to tentacle with a being of great evil that wanted to do nothing but destroy all and consume all life. At the bottom of the pit, when the sun hit her face, she climbed up and out of the pit and realized a new truth in her heart, or maybe uncovered the truth that was there, that she honestly lives her life. Thought aside, she lives her life with law is true life, and life deserves to rule over chaos. So she had made a decision in the pit that maybe it's time to move on to a different goddess. Maybe this wasn't right. She thought maybe it was the goddess's problem with her, but then she realizes that it was really her, and the way she felt deep inside that was at odds with Pelagia, who is a neutral goddess. So over the weeks of the journey, she did a lot of praying, attempting to make amends with Pelagia, confessing her heart, telling her goddess what everything was spent in quiet contemplation. If she wasn't praying, she was quietly contemplating, and she was begging to be let free of her service and praying for forgiveness for doing so, which she received in quiet acceptance and loss of her powers. And it just became a feeling she felt. She woke up, she felt like, for the first time in weeks, she felt calm, but she also felt powerless. As an odd feeling to describe. If anyone's ever had spells and then lost them, the ability to cast spells and then lost it, you know how she feels. Maybe she saw signs. Maybe Pelagia spoke to her in a different way and through signs in the clouds and things. Actually, Pelagia is goddess of the sea, so she might hold some domain over the stars to a degree. I'm just thinking because of nautical and being able. Anyway, Naomi was let free of service, but is no longer a cleric. She kept that from the rest of the group. She didn't want anybody to know that. She kept it to herself, and she kept quiet. When they reached Dustfall, they reported back to the Baron. He was blown away by their story. What could you be, right? They traveled down to the bottom of a great ravine, fought a deadly cult of crazy tentacled people, and then fought their leader right at the bottom with the gigantic tentacles, the biggest houses, and then the crashed. It was almost too good to believe, but he didn't care because he said right away, I want to get a bard. I'm gonna have my bard visit you. He's gonna interview you guys. This is gonna be the best ballad, the most majestic ballad ever heard. The party was grateful. They received a lot of compensation. And the Baron told them to take their leave in the city and arrest, and the bard would find them individually to ask them questions and interview them. So Naomi spent the next few weeks wandering the city, trying to figure out what she was going to do now. She walked around with just a hooded cloak, so not to be noticed because they had grown quite famous in the city, especially now that they're back in these stories of these crazy big fight. They'd already fought fairies and killed a pirate king. So she just kept herself hooded and wandered the city. One day she was wandering in the rain, and she came upon two city guards, and one of them was beating a kid. He had the kid around the scruff. It must have been 11 or 12, and he was just mercilessly just pounding his kid's face. Boom! Just like the kid was already like limp, no idea what he had done. At this point, it was sport. And Naomi cried out, but it was more of a croak because she can't talk very loud. But she walked up and she stop as hard as she could. And they couldn't really hear her, but the other guard kind of turned and saw her. And he puts his hand up. He says, "You gotta leave. Go, keep walking." But she came forward again. She shook her head, no, and she pointed at him, and she said, "Stop." The other guard noticed this time. The other one, he kind of brings down the kid. He looks over and he looks at the other guard, and the guard says, "She says to stop." I was like, huh. All right. He drops the kid. And then he comes walking over to her. And he's he goes, all right, well, let's have a go here then. And the other one looks at him and then smiles. And then he draws his sword. And she tries to push past the other guard to get to the kid, and they push her, and then that's when she draws her sword. And Naomi's going to get in a fight with a couple of guards in the middle of the city. It's raining. The streets are deserted. It's really rainy, muddy. It's been raining for a couple days. We're going to roll initiative for Naomi. She's going to be 14. And then the guards are going to be 12. All right, so she's going to be going first. Hey, Heroic. How's it going, man? So, Naomi's going first. She knows in order to get to this kid who's just laying in the rain, passed out, being covered in rain, she needs to get through these two guys. She's actually really mad. She's like she hasn't felt anything like this since she crawled out of the pit. She hasn't had any emotion other than, not regret, but being humbled, and quiet reflection, things like that. This is the first bit, and it's bubbled and just erupted out of her. I mean, she's faced way greater than these two city guards. She's gonna take care of these guys and make them pay for what they did to that kid. She swings at the one of them. What do we got here? Oh yeah. Yeah. So she hits him. She gets +2 now. She's level 2, by the way. She's level 2 nothing. She's not a cleric right just yet. All right. 2 points of damage. All right. She swings a lot quicker than this guy expected. I mean, she's not wearing her chainmail either. She's just got a leather jerkin on. gives her +2, so she's got an armor class of 12. All right, she doesn't have chainmail on, her normal chainmail, just got a leather kind of thing on, and a short sword. She slices into him. He goes, "What? What the?" The other one looks down and goes, "Okay, this is serious. He's gonna like it too." He comes swinging at her. He gets a different die. 11. He just barely hits her. Ooh, she bites into her good. All right. He comes slicing down. She's not able to get out of the way quick enough because she had just hit the other guy, and it slices into her leather armor in her chest. She feels it bite into her. But she just grits her teeth. She's felt worse. The other one, the one she hit, takes a swing at her. And he hits as well. Ooh, boy. We got ourselves a fight here. All right. She is not down, but she is hurting. So he stabs out at her and slices into her ribs. Oof. Now she's got to think. You know what? She's got nothing. She's got nothing. She has no God. She's been wandering a city. This is a test for her. She's got nothing but this and the rage she's feeling in her head. She's going to keep going. She slices at the one she'd hit before. The pain keeps her from making contact. The other one slips in the mud and misses her. The one that she had hit hits her squarely. We're going to roll this for them. Ooh. She lashes out. I thought that was a 1. I was worried there for a second. Yeah, that's a miss. That's a miss. Bad guy. Ooh. One of the bad guys fumbles. He's wearing, he's wearing leather. Where is his, right? Oh no, he's wearing, okay. Where's my armor at? There you go. Scale mail. D12 on the fumble chart. All right. We'll do that. Fumble's right here, right? Yep. 6. 6 on the fumble chart. Your weapon becomes entangled in your armor. You must spend your next round untangling them. In addition, your armor bonus is reduced by 1 until you spend 10 minutes refitting the tangled buckles and straps. So the one gets really excited because they've already sliced her twice. They see the blood. They smell the blood. He's like, yes, this is what I wanted today, to kill a criminal. And but gets too excited and his sword gets caught in his armor. And then the other one, this could end it right here. Oh, he hits. What does she got left? Ooh. She is, that one slices, she manages to duck, and it slices a bit of her forehead. Now she's got blood in her eyes, and several puncture wounds and slashes. But yet she persists. Going for the one that is attacking her right now. Going for blood. Come on now. Wow. Okay. One of them still struggling with a sword. The other one attacks her. He misses. She finds a little bit of energy to be able to sidestep. All right, now both of them are back in play. Her world goes black as the one steps forward and hits her with the pommel of his sword, and she falls to the ground. And she's laying there, and she's staring across at the little boy who was laying there, who he's just the rain's falling on his unconscious face. and then things go dark, and then she feels spit hit her, and then she goes dark. Everything goes dark. There's cold, and there's wet, and then there's warm, and then there's dry. And then she opens her eyes, and she's in a small warm room with a fire. There's an old lady who's sitting there next to the bed, taking care of her. And I don't know if you joined how long you've been watching Heroic, but Pelagia left the service. Not Pelagia. Naomi left the service of Pelagia, so she's without a goddess right now, or a god, or deity, and so she's godless. So she's not really like cleric right now, just so you know. Anyway, so helps understand that for about what's about to happen. So she comes to, and there's this little old lady who's kind of helping her, who shushes her and tells her to keep resting, and she goes back to sleep. And she wakes up later, and the old woman's joined by a little old man who he's got the kind of like a not cleric, but a friar kind of garb going on. He comes in and they feed her and talk to her, and come to find out that they had these two had collected her and the little boy was doing well, and she was in a small chapel to the goddess Justitia, the goddess of justice and mercy. Needless to say, right off the bat, it was kind of hard to miss the fact that this felt a little bit like a sign to Naomi. She spent the this beginning of this episode, she's like, at this point, she's decided that it was time to cut it, to move on. And because of all that stuff that happened in the pit, Heroic. So, which is all my bad rules. But I gotta go where the dice lead me, right? So she gets better. She leaves, goes to back to her inn. She starts visiting this little chapel every day to check on the kid, and see how he's doing. Eventually he's good and he's okay. A little really messed up in his face and stuff, but it's getting better. She gets to know the little old lady and the old man who run the little chapel there in a little dark corner of the city. And she begins helping them, volunteering there. And after a week or two, she starts feeling confident. Confident that maybe, or confident, or getting a little courage that maybe she could ask Justitia, pray to her to see if she could be in service of her and be a cleric for her. So one day, with the guidance of the old lady and the old man, she prays to Justitia in the chapel, and that night she's visited by Justitia in her dreams. And she tells her that she would accept her service. I will accept you. Yeah. She doesn't speak. She just looks at her, and Naomi understands. Where was I? Okay. She would accept her service, but Naomi needed to prove her heart. Because her heart had been one way before, at least she thought she had. But now she needed to be pure in both mind and heart in order for Justitia to take her on fully. So she gave her a geas. She told them there was a town far away that needed her help, and that she needed to leave immediately, and she must go alone, and she must do her best to help. So when Naomi woke, she knew she was going. There was no choice. She was going to go, and as soon as possible. She wasn't going to be given any. Well, we'll get to that in a minute. But she gathered up her things, and in the first time in weeks, she donned her armor, her chainmail, and on her way out, she ran into Atticus, And of course, Atticus was not happy to hear that she was taking off, going anywhere. He tried everything he could to talk her out of it. There were many personality roles made, and he failed all of them. But what about the Bard? He said, the Bard's going to need your version of the story. We need you to tell it. You're going to have to do this without me. Maybe he can see me when I get back. But what if I get hurt? What if I get hurt or Tarlef gets hurt? But she stayed absolute, and she told him that she'd be back and that she'd miss him dearly. And he accepted all this reluctantly, but and tried to hide his sorrow, because in his life, he knew people don't come back. But then as she was walking away and he was going back in the inn, he realized, he thought, well, we've come back many times now. And that was enough for him to cheer up. And our little halfling didn't go away too depressed. He was a little more happy. Before Naomi left town, she stopped at the local smithy, and it's then not long after she's riding out of town, heading north, with a brand new mace strapped to her waist. And that's where we're kind of going to start tonight. So I knew going into this that I wanted Naomi to break from Pelagia and kind of find a new deity. And I was doing some research online, and I was actually looking. I was like, I wonder if there's any kind of adventures I can find that I could tailor to make solo for her to deal with, to kind of me like the next step for her to kind of prove her worth to Justicia. And I on the Matt Colville Reddit, I found a link for an adventure finder, and I typed in like cleric and solo, and I found this old D&D, second edition D&D module called Clerics Challenge. I guess they did a series of these for all the different classes, but these were solo adventures written just for basically what I was saying, for second level characters, no less. It was like, oh, this one's by Richard Baker III, who I think was pretty prolific back in the day, writing a lot of modules. This is a mid-90s, I think, adventure. So this is what we're going to be running for the next few sessions, at least few sessions. This is Naomi's time, and super looking forward to it. So Naomi's riding off to this town. Let me get everything else ready. The town of Palmville. But really, she just has a direction and some like vague visions of where she needs to go that she was given to by Justicia. And so she heads off down the road. She has no cleric spells. That's the one thing, is she needs to do this with just being able to heal, turn undead, and divine aid if she needs it, but no spells. When she proves herself, hopefully through this adventure, she's going to get she'll get all the spells that she can from Justicia. But that's kind of the stipulation. She's just given the base level of stuff that a cleric can do. But she is a second level cleric now. She's got a pretty good set of hit points. Yep. So there we are. So it takes her like 3 weeks of travel. That's a lot of time to spend on the road by yourself, but she's been quiet and introspective for quite a while, so this kind of feels like an extension of that, and she welcomes it because now she's out. She feels like she's completely out on her own, and she was a noble before, but we know before she was actually a jester. But her reality now is that she was a noble, and she was always surrounded by people, and being on her own, she's finding this new solace, that she didn't get a chance to feel before when she was wandering in the fever state, because of the hole in the sky, the beginning of the adventure, the whole Sky had all of them kind of meeting up because they'd all left their lives and kind of walked in this weird fevered state to meet at the cliff. And then was the only time she'd felt this a little bit, but she didn't really know what it was. She was too busy focused on, just kind of being drawn to something. Now she got the chance to enjoy it. But 3 weeks, not many encounters, nothing that we have to roll for. No bandits. We could, but no. Let's say she scared off anybody who might be trying to rob her or anything such thing. About 3 weeks out, she's been traveling through. She's come into this new. The landscape's changed. It's rolling hills and farmlands. It's peaceful. The sky's gone gray. There's chilling showers. It's beginning to be early spring. And she's her stomach rumbles, and she realizes how long it's been since she's had something more than like a rabbit, and she's never been that great of a hunter, and her rations kind of ran out a while back, so she's been forced to hunt, and she's not the greatest hunter, but she has been keeping herself fed, but she's hungry now, and she's following this. She's found this ancient kind of road that a traveler on the road had told her it was called the Stone Way. And she'd asked, and he told her that Palmaville was just follow the road and you would come to it. And sure enough, darkness is about to falling on like the 22nd day, and she finds herself going down into this wooded valley toward a river, and because she can see it on the hill, and she sees smoke coming out of the trees near the river, and assuming that that's the town of Palmaville. And she's right. She comes down into town, and which is good because it's starting to get cold. Palmaville is a prosperous village, and there's stores and cottages to either side of the road. A steep wooded hill rises above the town, hiding ivy-grown ruins on its crown. So there's a bit of a hill with a ruins overlooking the town that she couldn't have seen from the other hill when she was farther back. She's riding in the town. She looks over and she sees the light of an inn with a sign that says the Green Griffin, with a crudely drawn griffin on it. It's night. It's getting to be dusk night. There's not many people out, but she can see that there's clanking and stuff going on inside of the inn, so there's definitely people in there. So she ties up her horse and goes inside the Green Griffin. Shaking off the cold, she walks into the inn's common room. It's comfortable. There's maybe a dozen or so villagers and travelers enjoying a roaring fire and tankards of ale. Just what you expect. A short, broad-shouldered man with a drooping mustache approaches with a smile. "Welcome to the Green Griffin," he says. "My name is George Marset, and I'm the ostler." I thought the ostler was somebody who took care of owls. I am wrong. "Have a seat by the fire, and I'll have my nephew look after your horse." She thanks him quietly. "Thank you," and takes a seat near the fire, looking over the crowd. Most of them, she looks around, most of them just seem to be just villagers, probably live here. Nobody really stands out except for, there's a tall man in a smith's apron and a brash young man dressed as a craftsman, a couple old farmers. But there's also a couple travelers who don't look like the rest of them. One's this stocky dwarf who still wearing a breastplate, looks like a plate breastplate, although he doesn't have the breastplate leggings on, but he somehow he makes it look comfortable. He looks like he's been around for quite a while. The other one is a really tall friar-looking person. I keep saying friar-looking, but it's like a brown, coarse robe kind of deal. Maybe he's got the little hair thing going around. And the third is a thin man with kind of sharp eyes. It looks like might be a trader or a merchant of some type. Naomi isn't she hasn't talked in a while. She hasn't talked in weeks, so she's not necessarily. I mean, she tries it with the when the innkeep comes back around to ask her what she'd like to eat. It takes her a minute to tell him because she hasn't spoken in a while. It feels weird, but it doesn't take her long, and she orders some food, and it comes. It's delicious. Big plate of meat and potatoes and vegetables, and she just goes to town on it. In fact, she's eating it so gets so into it that she looks up, and the three travelers are looking at her, and they look away a little bit, realizing that they are staring at her. Travelers, no travelers, right? She asked the innkeep when he goes back around. She asks him about. She says, "I noticed the ruins at the top of the." No, at first she says, "This is the town of Palmerville." Or did we say Palmerville? Why does that sound wrong all of a sudden? Yeah, Palmerville. He says, well, have you ever had any trouble?" She asks him. "Have you had any trouble here?" No, first she asks him if it's Palmerville. It's like, aye, this is Palmerville. Welcome. We're a small community, but pretty robust in a lot of different ways. For whatever that means. And she says, have you had any trouble? Well, we not really. A few adventurers came by the other day and went up to the ruins, but they haven't returned. Probably couldn't fence all the treasure they found up there. Here, huh? I probably left, but there was no trouble. So okay, thank you. Oh, what are those ruins? What are those ruins? They've always been there. Like I said, last week a couple of adventurers went up in there, but I don't think they found anything, and they haven't returned. All right. So she sits back. Then she just starts staring. She just stares. She spends the rest of her time staring at the fire, wondering why she's here. She doesn't think she's screwed up. She doesn't. She's found in her travels of the last couple of weeks, she's found some comfort in falling back into faith in Justitia. She really didn't have a problem being faithful to like Pelagia or this new goddess, the deity. It's just her viewpoint on life was different or was wrongly suited. So she kind of falls back and goes, okay, I'm here for a reason. Whatever it is hasn't happened yet, and or I will find it, and tomorrow I'll look for it, or what I can do to help. And so spends the rest of the time staring in the fire, thinking about that. And before she knows it, she looks up, and a lot of the villagers are gone. It's a little later. She looks over. The dwarf is staring at her again, and he looks away. He looks at his cup. And the other two are gone. Just the thin man with the small man with the sharp eyes is quietly talking to him. She decides she's going to retire for the evening. So she gets herself her room. She had already kind of hooked up with the innkeep, and takes off her armor, of course, because she's so happy to take off her armor. And set it aside and lays down to enjoy the most wonderful bed that's ever been created by all of mankind. And within minutes, she's asleep. She's awakened by screams in the distance, outside, and then suddenly inside. And sitting up in bed, she listens. And for a moment, and then suddenly she says, she heard it off in the distance. She sits up. She doesn't hear anything, and all she hears is the moaning of the wind and the rustling of leaves. Then there's this piercing shriek down the hallway, and something thumps and fumbles at her door. She springs to her feet, and just as the door gives way, boom, boom, psh, and in the darkness, she can make out this horrible, shambling form that's advancing on her with his arms outstretched, and her stomach turns as the stink of the thing fills the room. It smells like very, very dead. Feels very, very chaos and evil and filthy And her first thought is she grabs the holy symbol for Justitia, which is a golden hammer. She pulls it up and shoves it, and first thought is to turn the thing that's approaching her. So we're gonna roll. We're gonna roll for that. Her mace is sitting up against the table, or actually, it's leaning up against the wall near her bed. So she'll be able to grab it if this doesn't work. We'll see. She has a plus 3, 4. She gets plus 5. So she did 12. This is a 1-hit die. 12. Oh, good. Whew, whew. Just barely. She speaks out. She goes, "By Justitia, I command you, filth, leave my presence." And the zombie stops, rears back, and turns and shuffles faster than it came in out through the door. And she feels this rush because we've got a little bit of validation here, right? We're back in the game. Barely, Kevin. She's back in the game. She's literally, figuratively, and she rushes out in the hall to see what's going on. The hallway's dark, but it's filled with that stench, that dead stench. The one that she just then goes shuffling down. The hallway's long, and it goes past the stairs that go down. It runs, it hits the stairs. It tries stumbling down the stairs. Maybe it falls a bit, but it's running out. It's moving away from her as fast as it possibly can. She sees other guests fighting for their lives, dressed in just robes or nightshirts. The trader, the small man with the sharp eyes, who actually should be a woman. It's a woman with sharp eyes. Naomi didn't notice this before because she had a hat on, but because she was asleep, her hat's off and her hair's down. It's a woman with sharp eyes. The trader, she's at the end of the hallway. There's 2 zombies kind of coming at her, and she's definitely moving out of the way. She looks down the other side, and there's 2 more that are attacking. The innkeeper has got one. There's 2, and they're trying to get in, and he's got them blocked. He's using the door to try to keep them from getting in. And then there's a room across the hall with it that looks the door's open and it's quiet in there. Yeah. So the first thing she thinks, she's gonna that doorway, the one that's open, faces the stairs. Her first thought is she's going to she yells. Well, she can't yell. She does her best to say, "Get that door closed," to the innkeeper. He hears her. "Get that door closed." He hears her. And then she starts running down the hall. Well, actually, she runs back in, grabs her mace, comes back out, and running down the hall to help the merchant, the trader, the lady. As she's passing the door, she looks in, and the door was burst open, and there is a zombie. It looks like it's just about to attack someone sleeping in the bed. She looks quickly at the trader, who manages to get down and around the 2 zombies and fall back towards her. She says, "Hang in there," as loud as she can. She just can't tell if the woman could hear her or not, and she runs into the room with the zombie in the other room. I'm gonna give her a surprise hit because this thing's about to feast on whoever's in the bed. Hold, please. There we go. No. All right. There we go. That's all I'm talking about. All right. So, wow. Oh, yeah. She just Her mace hits the back of this thing's head. Blood flies everywhere. The dwarf sits up, sputtering. What the hell is this? What is this? Whoa, what smell? God. And he looks up to see her standing there with the mace. He's like, whoa, thank you. And so he's disappointed that he didn't wake up quicker. He stumbles out of bed, and she says, "Are you all right?" He's like, I'll be fine. Let me grab my weapon." And she are there more of these things? She's like, "Yes. Meet us outside." So she rushes out and into the hallway, and just in time, she almost runs into the traitor, who's backing up while more zombies come towards her. Come shambling now. And Naomi's going to attempt to turn these two guys. That's a failure. That die just earned itself a no-go anymore. She goes to say, she says, "By Justitia, I demand that you leave." And they just keep coming. She hears the traitor mumble something about gods can't live with him, can't kill him, and moves behind and whips out her sword. It's like, "I guess we're gonna have to do this the old-fashioned way," she says. The traitor, and Naomi takes a deep breath, and we wade into combat. Naomi is a 12 or 13. The traitor is a 7, 9. And the zombies are 17 minus 4. It's 13. Okay. So it is oh, hey. So it is Naomi. Yes, we're going to find a new die for Naomi for sure. I like the gold. We're going to try this gold die. Naomi swings at the first one with her mace. Is that a 19? No, that's a 9. Yeah, that's weird how that makes it look like it's that die sucks for optics. 9, 10, 11. She hit. All right, right on. Beans this guy for 6 points of damage. The mace smashes into it. Its shoulder and arm go kind of fall over, and it stumbles back. But it comes back at her. That one attacks her. He, with his limp arm, and he can't really get at her all that great. Just kind of hits her breastplate and falls off. The other one attacks the traitor and misses. No, just barely locks onto her for 1, 2, 3 for a point of damage. All right. She's gonna finish him now, or not. All right, she's rolling a D8 on the fumble chart. 8. Great. You accidentally smash your weapon against a solid, unyielding object. Yeah. So she hits him, and then she goes to hit him again and swings a little too hard and smashes into the wall. Maybe she does this, and then she tries to go like this and smashes into the wall beside her. Ruining her brand new mace. Ruining her brand new mace. Great. The stock of her mace breaks. Um, yeah. So then that zombie attacks her, misses, goes to grab her, and she pulls back, and then the other one attacks the traitor, missing. Good for her. Right? Yeah, just barely. With the other arm, he tries to grab her and hold her with both arms. And now the traitor attacks that zombie. All right. There you go. She's got a knife. No, it's just short sword. All right. She runs it through the zombie and then kind of brings it up and out. A big part of it bursts off, but it's still going. Naomi raises her holy symbol again. Clears her mind. And then speaks. +5 is 17. Okay. That's a lot better. Okay. 1d3. So she rolled a 17 because she gets +5. Where's that 1d3? There it is. She gets the turn 1d3 plus caster level. 3 of them. So she speaks out. She goes, Justitia demands you filth return to whence you came. Return to the hole that you crawled out of. Not only do the two that are fighting them right there almost stumble over each other trying to get away. They hear a thump, thump, thump behind them, and they turn, and one of the other ones is coming at them, and they both get out of the way, and it just goes right past her to follow its dead buddies to leave. And Naomi looks down the hall, and the innkeeper is still keeping one more at bay. And that's when the dwarf comes out, and he's comes running down the hall. He looks and then goes racing down the hall to the zombie at the end of the hall, where with the innkeeper, screaming with a big old broadsword. Is that what he's got? No, longsword. Yeah, he hits. Oh wait, he gets to roll. He gets to roll 1d4 to go along with that. He just barely hit there, but with that, he definitely hit. And he's going to slice this thing 5. Yep. Oh, he should have been rolled 1d8. All right. 6. Yeah. So he screaming some kind of battle cry, slices the other zombie in twain, and the gore splits all over the door. And George, and he opens it up, and his family's back there, and everyone's like all huddled, and he's got the zombie stuff on. He's like, "Thank you," and the dwarf turns back and looks at Naomi. Says, "Are there more?" Looking at between her and the traitor, and Naomi goes like this and quickly starts running down the stairs to the bigger part of the inn, and there are to the common room, and inside the common room are like 4 more zombies just now coming into there, streaming in from the door from the outside. She looks down, and she comes back up. She goes, 4 more. Does anybody have a weapon? And Captain, the dwarf, he throws her. He comes up, and he kind of tosses her his longsword, and she catches it. He goes, "I'll be right there," and he goes into his room. And then she looks at the traitor, and she's like, "You all right?" And the traitor's like, "I'm fine, completely fine. Come down. There's more downstairs." The traitor looks like she's gonna argue, but then realizes like there's not much she can do to help to stop these things from coming upstairs and anyway, so she's got to help. So they head down the stairs, as the other four zombies are starting to come up the stairs. There's two. There's two. The stairs are big enough to where there's two at a time, so they meet two zombies right then. Oh, where'd you come from? We're gonna try you out first, though. Yeah, we're gonna try. There we go. Naomi rolls a 9, 10 initiative. The traitor rolls a 9. The zombies roll a 1. Oh, okay. This time it's Naomi and the traitor. Merchant. All right, Naomi. Naomi's got a long sword. Yeah. I was trying to think of whether she'd want to turn them, but she's gonna swing. Boy. All right. With her short sword, the other. Oh boy. Okay, you're not a good die. Oh wait, actually, that hits. +1 hits these guys. So just barely swinging down at this thing as it's coming up the stairs. It walks into the sword swing. Just barely walks into the sword swing, doing 2 points of damage. And then the zombies come shambling up the stairs at them. One reaching for the traitor. That was an 18. Now, look at this. Look at you. Okay. Yeah, it hits the traitor. Oh, boy. Oh, they just 1 to 3, so. Doing 3 points of damage. Yeah. It grabs her and pulls her down and starts gnawing on her. She screams out, going helpless. Naomi, well, wait, the other one does the same, is trying to grab Naomi. Naomi, horrified, steps back out of the way where this thing kind of falls through the air trying to get her. And Naomi is going to whip out her holy symbol. Which one did I roll that did okay? Here we go. That's +5 right there. That's a 21. That is 1d6. 6 of them. She yells out again. Throws out Justicia. Demands that they recoil. The one that's feasting on the traitor looks up, throws it back, and then stumbles away with gore on his face. The other two that were coming in race out, and they're just kind of racing each other, falling over chairs, trying to get out and away from Naomi. And Naomi immediately catches the traitor and sets her down and starts whispering to Justicia to help. Oh, no. That is a failure. She doesn't help, but this lady's bleeding out. She's gonna die. Naomi's gonna try again. Okay. She needs. That's 11. She's gonna spend a point of luck because we're not gonna fail this one. As much as I hate to do it, she's gonna spend a point of luck to heal this poor lady. 4 points of damage. Nice. Speaks to Justicia. The wound knits up. It's going to be an ugly scar, but it knits itself back up. just as the dwarf comes down with a heavy crossbow, and the others, the innkeeper and his family, come around the corner. Are they still more in the inn? The dwarf is looking around, and Naomi says, no, I've sent them away. So you're quite powerful, cleric. Thank you. Not powerful enough. She helps the trader up, and they get her sitting down, and then they go to the door. Everyone hurries to the door to kind of bar it or to look outside. Her and the dwarf walk outside, and the town is in pandemonium. There are zombies everywhere, wandering in. Some are dragging people into alleys. It's a crazy, horrific sight. And Naomi looks down at the dwarf, and the dwarf looks up at her, and that's where we're going to end tonight. It's a little short tonight. I didn't know how long to get through. I wanted to get a lot of the storytelling done in the beginning to kind of set all this up, and then drop it here. It's a nice little cliffhanger, I think. But yeah, the town's overrun with zombies. Naomi is just barely rolling better. Here's the thing: I can't blame bad rolls on wrong deity and have her go chaotic. This is the last shot. I gotta find a die that likes me and likes her. That's all that's gotta happen. Thanks, Heroic. Thanks, man. This is gonna be. I like this little adventure. It's gonna be nice. It's gonna be tough not to want to do another one. I was thinking about looking up one for wizards and one for fighters to do solos for the other guys, but we'll see. We'll see where all this goes. Maybe Naomi doesn't come back. Maybe she comes back completely changed. We have no idea. She's out on her own. She's going to make some new friends, though. She already has. Yeah, so next week I'll be back with more on Clerics Challenge. And Heroic, we'll be doing... tomorrow night is Apocrypha Adventure card game, Saturday night. And yeah, y'all have yourselves a merry, happy holiday Christmas. We do celebrate a happy holiday in the dungeon, just so you know. Viva la dungeon!